On the complete other side of what's going on with violence and guns and conservatism, we have Ted Nugent, who's still now in the news apparently and making different claims. I'm wondering. Well, let me get to what I'm wondering after. His latest claim is that his buddies are willing to start an armed revolt. Now, Ted Nugent famously said at this point, I don't remember how long ago it was, Lewis. It was some time ago that if President Obama is reelected, he will be either dead or in jail by April. Now, the countdown on that is down to about, I think it's like 78 days or something like that. So we're keeping an eye on that. But here's Ted Nugent's latest comment. Let's just listen to what he had to say. Take a listen. I apologize we don't have a full screen video on this.
And I'm part of a very great experiment in self-government where we, the people, determine our own pursuit of happiness and our own individual freedom and liberty. Not to be confused with the Barack Obama gang who believes in we, the sheeple, and actually is attempting to re-implement the tyranny of King George that we escaped from in 1776. And if you want another Concord Bridge, I got some buddies.
Right, there it is. So there's Ted Nugent's latest claim. Again, 78 days left until he said he would be either dead or in jail. Now, is this not inciting to sedition, which is a crime? Inciting to sedition is the act of trying to cause unrest, to encourage people to rebel against an established or governing body. This is not exercising freedom of speech. This is specifically falsifying facts, as he is creating all of this just hubbub and nonsense around the tyranny of President Obama to entice unrest. I mean, is this not inciting to sedition?
Well, he's asking a question, right? If you want another episode like that, well, then maybe I can do something.
He has buddies who would revolt. What do you think, Natan, when you hear guys like this?
On a daily basis, Rush and Glenn Beck are inciting more than he is.
Natan?
Yeah, I think Ted Nugent's definitely an example of reasoned thought. I don't know. It just seems like the whole thing is a totally irrational discussion that the gun nuts proposed. But I mean, for me, if we were going to have a rational discussion, we would, as a starting point, we would say nobody should have guns, and let's see how we can, follow the Second Amendment in a way that has severe restrictions, including background checks for all, and also potentially, gun training before you obtain a gun, and, getting that renewed every year or two. So I think if that was the starting point, I would say it's reasonable. But for these guys, any mention of anything that will put any sort of law on the books that will reduce the ability of anyone to get a gun without a background check is somehow anti-American, anti-Second Amendment.
But of course, though, Lewis, restrictions on who they can marry or medical procedures or anything like that, those laws are perfectly fine. No, there's no constitutional issues. There's no restrictions on freedom. It's just we're living in a land of complete freedom when people can't marry who they love or, politicians in Washington decide what their doctor can or can't do. But that aside, it's obviously a constitutional thing.
Yeah, if you want to marry, someone of the same sex, at least you can find some comfort in the fact that if you want, you can kill them with a gun.
Yeah, that's true. If nothing else,
if things get sour,
we're being. Do people not realize that we're being completely laughed at by most of the civilized world when it comes to this stuff? I mean, we're having a discussion here about we need to have all weapons because the government might become tyrannical, and with that, if they came in with Apache helicopters and tanks with our rifles, we'd be able to stop that. And the Founding Fathers kind of wrote that because of where the commas were placed back in the 1700s. So this is the discussion.
At this point, I would say, let's forget the Second Amendment. I mean, let's just give it to them. Let's give them the argument that what the founders intended was for people to be able to protect themselves against the potential tyranny of the federal government. Let's just give them that argument.
Yeah.
There are a ton of things that the founders thought that have no bearing in 2013. And this is one of them.
Right.
So why don't we just give them that argument and say, how does this have anything to do with the dystopia that we currently live in with these shootings?
But that's un-American, Natan. That's un-American. Lewis, that when you start with that, people say, whoa, wait a second. The Constitution is off the table. Questioning that the Constitution may not be all-encompassing, explicit, or need further interpretation or discernment, that is un-American. That's evil. That's something that Obama would do because, of course, he's not American. You can't have that discussion. You just can't have it.
Right. So what do? You try and put things into perspective and compare this country to other countries?
I really don't know.
It doesn't work.
It's a very difficult
You just can't win this
situation.
battle.
Well, let me just say something about that. In the same way that right-wing people say that the United States has the best healthcare system in the world when it clearly doesn't, according to every rational statistic out there, they will say that even though you bring up all these gun homicide stats from other countries, including Western Europe, that are way lower than here, they'll just find a way of arguing that it's really not the case, and it really doesn't mean that we need to change our laws.
Yeah, that's basically what you. It doesn't matter how many people die. We could lose 95% of the population of the country. That Second Amendment, Lewis, that's the key. That's the key, and we need to maintain that.
Right. It's like arguing with this keyboard.
It basically is.
Yeah.
And on that note, use your keyboard to go to davidpakman.com/gear. Get yourself a t-shirt, a sweatshirt, a hoodie made from 100% recycled materials. All David Pakman Show gear made from completely recycled fabric. Incredible, Lewis.
That's great.
All right, we'll take a break. Zach Coplin is next. If you haven't heard about creationist school vouchers, you're not going to want to miss this. We'll be back after this.
The David Pakman Show at davidpakman.com.